I'd be willing to bet that the number one reason why people cancel a trip is rain. It could be that you're in the backcountry and bad weather moves in, or because of a bad forecast before you head out. And honestly, I get it. When everything you own is soaking wet, it stops being fun really fast. In this video, I'll show you 5 pieces of gear from clothing to shelter that make wet weather trips not just possible, but actually comfortable enough to keep going, and will give you the confidence to get out even when the forecast is bad. Most people think it's about staying dry or trying to stay dry, but in my opinion, it's not. It's about functioning and doing the things you need to do while you're in the backcountry when staying dry isn't an option. My go-to shelters for this year have been the Durston X Dome 1 Plus and the 2025 X Mid. What really sets these shelters apart from the rest are their attention to detail and how well they handle inclement conditions. The choice of fabric is key here, where you want a material that doesn't absorb and stretch when it gets wet. Both of those tents and also the tarp that I've been using this year are made of polyester fabrics, so they don't stretch out and sag over time throughout the night. The other feature of these shelters is that I can pitch them as an all-in-one setup, meaning that I don't have to get the inner wet before I put the fly on. On top of that, I can take the inner down first in the morning when I'm breaking camp and stay sheltered with the fly. There's other shelters on the market that have some of those features, including fabrics that don't absorb water, like shelters made of DCF, but generally speaking, DCF shelters are a permanent all-in-one setup, meaning you can't separate the inner from the fly. I really like being able to take down that inner first and keeping it dry and packing it away in my bag before the fly. So be on the lookout for polyester shelters. They're very good value and their performance is excellent. Up next are rain shells and rain gear in general. I've used everything from expensive and heavy multi-layer Gore-Tex shells, cheap Frog Togs rain sets, ponchos, and everything in between. The kind of rain shells that I've been using mostly over the last few years are what I would call middle of the ground in terms of price point. A good example of that is the Marmot Precip, and they all use a very similar kind of fabric. It's multi-layer and it has this kind of plastic on the inside. Overall, I find that kind of fabric terrible. It works, it's waterproof, but I don't think it's breathable at all. It's really uncomfortable to have that rubber layer up against your skin, and it's really hard to get on and off once it's wet. This year, I decided to make the switch to a true Gore-Tex shell. This is the one I've been using. It's made by La Sportiva. The model is called the Equilibrium Light. It's actually sold as a ski mountaineering jacket, and it is absolutely tiny and it weighs next to nothing. It's under 200 grams. I think it's 192 grams or 6.8 ounces. So very lightweight. It's made of Gore-Tex Performance, which has to be the lightest fabric in their product line. The jacket is extremely minimal. It doesn't have a ton of pockets or extra features, but it does the job. It has a great hood that can fit over a helmet if you need to, but can also cinch down if you're not wearing one. The inner layer is a nice plush fabric that doesn't get that sticky wet feeling when you're sweating. Overall, the La Sportiva jacket has been a very nice upgrade compared to plastic feeling laminates. If you're mostly doing hiking and backpacking that's on trail, I think it's worth considering some of the more uncommon rain gear. Something that I've used a lot in the Northeast and that works really well is a poncho hybrid called the Paca. It's a strange piece of gear, but it works so well. It keeps your pack and you dry. It goes on top of your pack straps so you don't get the buildup of sweat. When it's not raining too hard, I typically leave it open so that it's very airy. I can reach my pack pockets, get food, get my water bottles. I can flip it off my shoulders and just have it over my pack if the rain lets up for a bit. And if it starts raining again, just pop it back over my shoulders and I'm good to go. It really works well, but it looks strange. And I think that's unfortunate because it doesn't really matter what you're wearing when you're in the backcountry and it's pouring rain. But those kind of products are just never gonna sell well because they're not gonna sell to the masses. Other options are ponchos. Decathlon makes a poncho hybrid that's also designed for trekking and covers your pack. So those products are out there and they really do work. Some people like using umbrellas. I've experimented with them. I'm not a huge fan of having to carry something all the time while I'm hiking. They work great for getting out of your tent quickly at night, stopping to have a snack, or even protecting you from sun. So they are multifunctional. This one is simple. You want boots or shoes that drain. Waterproof boots might sound like a great idea and a way to keep you dry, but on a multi-day trip in wet weather, your boots will get soaked and then they just take days to dry. I want a shoe that lets water out as quickly as it lets it in. This might seem counterintuitive, but when you have to cross streams all day long and you don't want to be taking your footwear off for safety reasons, you need to have a shoe that lets water out. It takes getting used to because your feet will be wet quicker than if you wore waterproof shoes, but they will dry out faster and they will be much less heavy when they do get soaked. The model that I've been using and testing this year are the La Sportiva Akira 2. They're a dedicated trail shoe, so they're not a trail runner. They're a bit of a hybrid, so a little bit more robust, tougher fabrics, and they've been holding up very well. The only downside to them I've found is that they drain and dry out a little bit slower than a dedicated trail runner. But it all depends on your needs and preferences. If you do mostly on-trail hiking with a lightweight pack, like on the Colorado Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, or even the Appalachian Trail, trail runners are perfect. They offer more than enough support and they will dry out very well. This year, almost all of my trips have had a lot of off-trail travel and a heavier pack because of a pack raft, and because of that, I've wanted a slightly more robust shoe. The trade-off has been that they dry out slower, especially when I'm crossing streams. But I would almost never choose a waterproof shoe unless it's more of a shoulder season trip and I know that I won't have to be fording rivers. No matter what kind of shoe or boot that you choose, it's important to be able to reset your feet every night in camp. So camp shoes are a pretty important part in terms of comfort, just keeping your morale up, and also foot health. There's a lot of different options out there for camp shoes, from Crocs to sandals, dedicated lightweight camp slippers, and for myself, based on the type of trips that I do, just a set of plastic bags. Plastic bags let me switch my socks out to put on dry socks and then protect my dry socks during the evening when I need to put my shoes back on and do camp chores. All I do is pack 2 bread bags from the bulk section of the grocery store. They weigh next to nothing, and it means that I always have some camp shoes essentially packed in my clothing bag that I can use when the weather is wet. That's really dependent on the kind of trips that you do. Mine are more about travel and less about time in camp. If you're gonna spend a lot of time in camp, it makes it worthwhile to have something more robust, something slightly more dedicated and comfortable. One of the biggest challenges in sustained wet weather is keeping your morale up, because things that are usually a nice break and relaxing and boost your morale become the hardest part. That includes eating, drinking, and doing simple chores in camp. The easiest way to fix that problem is to pack some kind of tarp. I think the reason why people are reluctant to pack a tarp is because of the weight and the space penalty in their pack. But the advantages and the increase in comfort and morale that you get from having a tarp, especially in a group, is huge. Tarps made out of DCF can weigh under 150 grams, which is next to nothing. If you go with a fairly small tarp made out of polyester, they can weigh the same thing and cost a lot less. So there's really no excuse not to have a tarp with you. Setting it up is dead easy when you just want a shelter to be able to eat and relax under. I just go with a lean-to between 2 trees, pin down the 2 back corners, and I'm done. It takes literally a minute. Being able to keep your morale up in sustained wet weather is huge. A tarp is gonna go a long way for that, but if you wanna bring it up to the next level, having a chair is going to change everything. Whether it's a small folding camp chair or even a piece of foam, something that keeps you dry and off the ground will make everything easier and will mean that you're not just standing around trying to pass time. It means that you can sit and actually enjoy the weather. There's one piece of gear that crosses multiple categories, and that is a hammock. I've used a hammock a lot in Eastern Canada and the Northeastern US. Hammocks have a huge advantage for any environment where there's a lot of rain and there's a lot of trees. They have all of the advantages of a shelter where you can put up the fly first and last. You get a chair from the hammock, and you get a tarp with you all the time that you can break out and use in the middle of the day to eat your meal. I hope this video gives you the tools and confidence to get out even when the forecast is calling for rain.